I want to welcome everyone back to our Family Matters podcast this week, where we are talking about everything holidays, traditions, Christmas, our faith in God over the holidays. And so happy to see you all. It's been a while, so welcome back.
Hey,
We have
happy
Sister
holidays.
Trenda, Brother
Hi.
Ruben, Sister Hope back again with us on the podcast.
What's up, Courtney?
Yes. I just want to jump right in because this is my favorite holiday. As you see, I have the Christmas tree in the back. I've got my Christmas cup. I see everybody's in their festive sweaters and everything. Is everybody ready for the holidays?
Yes, I love
Getting there.
Christmas.
Absolutely. Favorite time of year.
I just want to jump right in and let's start talking about the holidays. I think I want to start with, what do the holidays mean to you? What do the holidays mean to you personally? How do you feel about the holidays? Whoever wants to jump in first.
I'll jump in. To me, the holidays mean family, family gathering, family getting together, family taking time to spend special time with each other. That's why I love the holidays because families get together.
Yeah. And you know what the odd part is, for that same reason, a lot of people um feel like holidays are stressful and maybe even painful, traumatic even,
Yeah.
because of just that reason. Families are coming together, and family can be a sense of, I mean, a source of like the most joy, but at the same time, just recognizing I have friends and even family that are we're under the same household as me, who picture the holidays completely differently,
Yeah.
just because of just whatever happens to them, whatever traumas they had. So I just want to recognize that it can be like that. But for me, it is like, for me, it's all joy. I just have always thought about Christmas time and what it meant and why we even have Christmas, and the baby Jesus, because that whole just the whole story of Jesus coming entering the world, that was always just that always captured me. And then it's all the magic around the time. It's just cozy. It feel good. Yeah, I love this time of year. So
Mhm. I'll just piggyback off of it, what everyone said. Of course, I think family, and with having little ones, it gives me like a renewed energy for the holidays, because like when it's just you, or before you have kids, it's like, oh, Christmas is nice, but then when you have the little ones, they make it more exciting. So yeah, I think holidays are all about family.
Yeah, it's interesting because I love Christmas, like love Christmas. And I love Christmas mainly because like growing up, like the house was always decorated, and it was just like full of memories and just something to look forward to. And so now I'm in this like transition period where, my son is about to be 16, and I saw this post the other day and it was talking about how, you know, you have literally like two Christmases left with your kid actually like just being growing up with you. And it kind of like
mm,
it gave me like a different sense for like this Christmas. Like I'm really excited for this Christmas, but at the same time it's like I need time to kind of slow down. But it's like Christmas can bring about some of the anxiety,
Mhm.
um, a lot of like just hard feelings, and it's like, man, like in 2 years, and not to rush it or anything, but you think about it, it's like I'm gonna be an empty nester. Like come home for Christmas, but it won't be the same as him like living home every day. And so I think a lot of times when it comes to like the holidays, it makes you think about like where you are in life, and it makes you think about like
Mhm.
transitions that you're going through, and then
Mhm.
you see your brothers or your sisters in different stages and they have younger kids. It's like, man, like I'm gonna be by myself. Like what am I gonna do? And so it's a happy time, but you're right, Brother Ruben. It's also a very anxious, and it can be stressful because as families are building their own traditions, you're wondering, well, what's next, right? It's like, you know, it can be difficult. So I definitely appreciate the family aspect, but as your family is growing and transitioning, it also can bring a lot of anxiety too. So
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
for sure, that's a really good point. So, which kind of brings me to, with all the feelings, whether you're feeling like happy, whether you're feeling joy, whether you're, you know, missing your parents or your children, or those transitions, like how do we lean on our faith? You know,
Mm.
because we know that faith is such a large part of the holidays. How do we lean on our faith in God to kind of help us through some of those moments?
I think just not forgetting, as we say, the reason for the season. Jesus is the reason for the season. And I think as I get older, that really just really resonates with me. And I try to be intentional of instilling that with my own kids because, like, everywhere you turn now, it's like, this is Christmas. Christ is in the name Christmas. But when you turn the TV on, it's all about, oh, there's nothing to do with Jesus. It's just about buying things, gifts and presents and
Right.
all that is nice, don't get me wrong, but they're leaving out the main part of the season. So
Yeah.
um so yeah, I just think teaching my own kids like, okay, guys, yeah, you'll get presents and things like that, but let's not forget about Jesus. Let's not forget the main reason for the season.
So true. I'm with you on that, Chanda, because I think faith for me um is like an anchor. It just kind of like, helps me to remember what it's really about. And, because the advertising is out there, they're talking about Black Friday, and then they're talking about the post Christmas sales, and then they're talking about all of that, on the way up to Christmas and then after Christmas, and then everything is always a sale, and so it's very easy to get swept up in that. So for me, just taking a beat and thinking like about what the true meaning of Christmas is, um, it really kind of pulls it back for me. Like really kind of like helps me stay grounded. It anchors everything.
And for me, I I love nativity scenes
Mm,
and things that remind me, or like plaques and pictures that talk about about why we celebrate Christmas. And I kind of try to surround myself with those things so that I always, if whether I'm sitting here and I look up, there's a joy, or whether I'm sitting over here and look up, there's Jesus is the reason for the season, and keep Christ in Christmas. And I just think it's important to just have messages all around you to
hmm.
remind you, so that when you are tempted to get caught up in the shopping and the buying and the hustle and bustle, that you remember why we celebrate Christmas.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome too, you know, and I just got to keep it real for a little bit because, you know, sometimes with all of us in different seasons, you know, with little kids and grown kids, and then, you know, some of us have, oh Lord, teenagers, and you know, with the holidays being such a kind of, it could be touch and go for a lot of people, you know, and we think, well, you know, yes, Jesus is the reason for the season, and there is joy, but you know, I haven't had joy, or you know,
Mm.
I'm missing people that are instrumental in my walk to have for this year. I lost someone really special. Like, you know, you're telling me Jesus is the reason for the season, but where has Jesus been? You know, I'm raising this kid on my own, and he has been, you know, engulfed like a little demon. You know, you just,
Mm,
you know,
mm,
I mean, all these little different things. You know, how can we help
Mm.
people, our, you know, people out there to really understand that, you know, yes, Jesus is the reason for the season, and yes, it's not about gifts, right? But you know, how do we really help them embed their faith? And one of the things that I was thinking of that I think is really special that we do as a family is, you know, we always go to like God's word before we open any presents, you know? Like
Mm.
my dad reads the Christmas story. And at first, like when I was growing up, I thought that was kind of silly. But now that I have a son and I see my nephews and niece, you know, it's like that's important for them to really actually understand that this isn't just something that we're saying. This is something that God is instructing us, you know, that his word um, is showing us, you know, the story of Jesus and his birth and that this is important. And so um, I think sometimes it's nice to see the signs and it's nice to know that it's not about gifts. But I just also think it's really important that we give people real tips and something to hold on to, you know, when it comes to the holidays, because fewer and fewer churches are going to services
Mm.
Yeah.
around the holidays, you
Yeah.
know, and so it's like if you're not really grounded in your faith, but you've had a really rough year or
Mm.
you've had something go on, I think it's hard to kind of grasp and hold on to your faith. So, you know, I think that's just we as I feel like the church, you know, need to think about maybe making sure that we continue those, you know, services or how do we get kids
Mm.
you know, even the Christmas plays we used to give, right? Or all of
That's
those
it.
things. Like how do we get kids involved so they have and their parents have a deeper knowledge of this is about God.
And who don't like a good Christmas play? Like Christmas play,
Right. Yeah.
Christmas plays were always the best. And you know, even like those Christmas services, I feel like every Christmas service is just a different level. You
Mhm.
know, anytime there's a Christmas service, there's something else about it. Um, Maybe it's because they sing an extra song or they put a little something else into the decorations, or but it's something about it. But I think that thing that it is almost a lot like um, it's a lot like the Who's in Whoville, where you
Yeah.
know everybody is coming together. You know, they're enjoying each
Yeah.
other, and you know, even that movie. When I think about that movie, I like that they did the last, you know, the latest animation in that movie, and they show, you know, the Grinch when he was a kid, and the reason why he, you
Yes.
know, wasn't really why he kind of was hating on Christmas is because he felt so left out and felt so. So for me, I feel like a lot of times when you're out shopping, get something else for somebody else. You know, like you can buy an extra thing.
Mhm.
You could pick up some another pair of gloves, you know, and and spread some love. You know, if you see somebody who's out in the cold, have those gloves ready. You know, you can, you know, get some cookies and bake them for the next door neighbor. You know, maybe she's living alone. It's her and her cats. You know, you could do something. Nothing wrong with cat ladies.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
I'm just,
joy.
I'm not about to be beat up on YouTube.
yeah, I
But
think that's right. Ruben is right. We need to share. That's why I love
yeah.
that's why I love the Haitian Kids Christmas Project or something,
Hmm.
where we have an opportunity to tangibly
Hmm.
help share some love, some joy at Christmas. But it doesn't have to be a foreign mission. It could be like Ruben said, you know, just making it a point to smile at people,
Hmm.
making it a point to be nice to people.
Hmm.
I also love what you guys did with the what was it? Where we had the family night, where you actually gave the parents the symbols, all the things that we like the Christmas tree and
It was a
the
Christmas.
bells and the candles and all those symbols. But you gave them information about now, this is what we do, but this is why we do it. This is the meaning of it for us. And so to me, that just helps a child and a parent to connect and to more deeply understand why we use these things at Christmas time and what they mean to our faith. I
Yeah.
thought that was really beautiful that you actually had like the little gift that they could have. And that's a visual picture which to me helps them to understand their faith and why we do what we do at Christmas.
And it's not
It,
something that's like, you know, it's something tangible too, because with parents, sometimes when you're trying to figure things out, it's nice that you have some help sometimes. And it's also like when you're talking about the family nights or Christmas plays, you are around people and you're centered around people, and it gives you something to look forward to and to be a part of. Because not everybody has a family that has 4 and 5 people in it, right? Not everyone has a husband or a wife or multiple kids. And
Mhm.
so oftentimes when people think of the holidays, they have a ton of people around them,
Mm.
but sometimes people don't.
Yeah.
And so, the holidays, although we're talking about going gift shopping and doing those things, just giving somebody something tangible can really make them feel like, man, like I matter. Like, I wasn't thinking that, someone would think about me or reach out to me, but it makes people feel as if, they're a part of something. And I think that's important with a world that moves super fast, that the intentionality, like you
Mm.
said, Ruben, of giving someone something or smiling at someone, you know, those are the things I think that go a lot further than us just saying, well, Jesus is the reason for the season, you
Right.
know, and I love that, people are starting, even if it's like you said, your neighbor, I talked to my neighbor today to give her Christmas gift. I give like 7 Christmas gifts in the houses around me. And come to find out, she's really been struggling, like with her cancer
Mm.
coming back and having surgery, and she was just really down. And what
Mm.
I gave her really made her excited.
Mm.
She thought no one was thinking of her,
Yeah,
Mm.
you
yeah,
know. She thought no one had checked on her or was thinking of her. And I didn't even know that she had that, but just, me giving that to her just renewed her sense of like, wow, like I matter,
yeah.
Amen.
you know.
And
So,
I think that's the power of being a Christian. Like the power of being a Christian is that, um, you know, God in us, Christ is, really urging us, pushing us, to um adopt more people into the family, and to give or be family to people who don't have that. And so it's like so when we're at church and we're calling each other brother and sister, and when a young person decides to be baptized, and you say welcome to the family, and or even if they're not, maybe they're outside of Christ, they don't believe they had or they've never stepped into a church, we're still, if we're being our best Christian selves, we're still treating other people as if they're, a child of God, which means that's our brother, that's our sister. We're trying to, if we can do that more often, then, we're literally making others feel like they are a part of something. They're not by themselves. And so, yeah, I think that could be, the best part about this time of year too. That's how
Yeah.
we can help, I think, in a tangible way.
One thing I also wanted to add to what you guys all said was also just praying for people during the holidays. Like even if you can't give a lot,
mhm.
um, just saying how, giving them like just asking, can I pray with you, or what can I pray for, or what's something
Mhm.
going on that we could pray for together, or can you pray for me, like getting with a Christian brother or sister and asking, can you pray for me, or someone that may not necessarily be a Christian, say, can I pray for you? How can I, you know, and let them know that you're thinking of them in that way. But I love what you said. I think, well, both uh, Ruben and Courtney, about when you're giving a gift to someone. Like I think about when I was in the classroom, we would have like Secret Santa, and I would have fun because I was able to really like, you have a list of things that the person likes, but they don't know who you are. So you really can take the time to be thoughtful and say, "Oh, I think I want to get this for this person," or "I think they would really love this." The intentionality and the thoughtfulness of it. So I do appreciate that about the season too. But if you don't have a lot to give, you could always just, like you said, give them a smile. I think Sister Hope, you said that. give them a smile, give them a hug, give them a word of prayer, just give them a call on the phone and say, hey, I've been thinking about you. How are you doing? Things like that. So,
And sometimes to me, those are the most important things. Especially when you think about our senior citizens, well, I'm a senior citizen too, although, but you think about it. They live alone, touch, you know, uh, having someone to check on them. Those things mean a great deal, especially when, they don't have their children are close by or anything. They really make a huge difference.
And I think we really talked about, some really amazing ways, to kind of encourage people during the holidays and kind of, show God's love and continue to pour into others. And so one other thing I wanted to talk about is like our families, the holidays can be a trying time financially, they can be a trying time emotionally, as we've been talking about. I know we've talked about giving to, maybe people we don't know, but our family, what are some traditions that we invest in um, within our families, and how have they blessed us? How do they help us grow as a family unit? And then also, it can also strengthen our faith in God. How do our traditions and the things that we value, how do they help us, um, build stronger family bonds this holiday season?
Well, I'll say this, one of my favorite traditions, and I have a couple because I love Christmas, but one of my favorite traditions is I love to gift each grandchild with a special ornament. And I do every year, I give each one of them a different one. And what that does for me as a grandmother, it helps me to kind of dial in with that grandbaby to find out, okay, what do they like? What are they into? What would they appreciate? And so I think that's the big deal for me is that I get to invest in them and get to know them better. But I think the benefit to them is that now I know now, they don't really think much about, ornaments and things like that. But my prayer is that when I'm gone on off the scene and they are putting their Christmas tree up with their family, they can remember, oh, grandma got me this when I was playing soccer, or grandma got me this when I had my first recital, or whatever. I feel like that to me is a really good way to establish a bond with that grandchild. And one other thing, then I'm going to be quiet. I love to bake gingerbread cookies with the grandbabies. And I feel like I'm doing more than just baking gingerbread cookies. We are kind of bonding and talking and, making sure that, we're precise in our measurements. That is probably my most fun tradition with my grandbabies. It's just making those gingerbread cookies. There again, it's just a special time when I get to be grandma, they get to be grandbaby, and we just kind of do our little thing together in the kitchen. And it's time that I cherish. And believe it or not, Courtney's almost 16-year-old still bakes gingerbread cookies with me. And I think he loves it. I know I love it.
He enjoys it. Yeah, he enjoys it. So
I think decorating in general, I love that about the ornaments, because I could absolutely, see the kids feeling like, what, this is special for me, and now they're represented on the tree. I love that. So decorating in general, I think is, a tradition for us that gives us a opportunity to all come together. And so being able to put up a tree, whether we're going to have guests over or not, whether there's going to be anything going on here or not, um, being able to put up a tree in your home or decorate a bit, it's always a family tradition that gives you kind of that it just gives you time together. And so, but lately um, we got two little trees for each of the boys to be able to decorate their own tree. So we might have too many trees going on in the house, but we started it, and so they kind of like the idea of being able to decorate their own tree, and now they've got their own trees going, and they're interested in that now. I don't know how long that'll last, but they really get into it, and so decorating the tree and letting the boys kind of decorate their own.
Mhm. Um, I think, like you said, Ruben, decorating, definitely decorating together. But Kenny's side of the family, they are a Christmas family. So we are doing, we have like an agenda like of Christmas things. I'm
Mm,
like, I'm tired. Um,
mm.
but like we do also cookie decorating, like they have a cookie decorating contest. We like to see the lights. So just doing, like you said, Sister of the bonding activities together, like just the different Christmas, watching Christmas movies. So yeah, just time with family, I guess is the tradition.
So for me, I normally host Christmas, which is a lot of fun. Like I love like having everybody at my house. And people complain about the events that I plan, but that's fine. And I thought it was a good event, but there's been one time where I kind of missed the mark, although I thought it was fun. But I love like doing that. And I think my favorite thing is like matching pajamas. Like
Mhm, mhm.
finding the pajamas that we're going to wear for Christmas, and that's normally like Kristen and I handle that. We figure out, okay, what are we going to get? And we've been doing that for years. I mean, what, 10, 11 years or so, we've been doing matching pajamas. And so I think that's really, really special. Another thing I really love is um, just being around, like having my parents and my aunt and my sister and my son and all that's getting ready to shift because people are getting married and starting families and my son's getting ready to go to college but I'm gonna be at somebody's house matching with somebody doing something. So, but I love that. And one of my very favorite traditions, I feel like we bond as a family, is called the interlocking lights,
Oh,
and we
yeah.
all get in the car and we all go look at these. It's like an area. And it's probably about an hour and a half. And we drive and look at all these ridiculous Christmas lights. And
Mhm,
we have debates on who has the best house,
mhm.
whose houses were terrible this year. And we go see these lights every year, but every time we have a good time. And so my aunt actually bought her plane ticket 2 days later, so she didn't have to come to the lights. But she doesn't know that they extended the lights, so we're definitely going to see the lights anyway. So,
Mm.
oh, and one more. Every Christmas we go to the movies. My
Mm.
sister, me, Buddy, Aunt Reese, my mom goes sometimes, but we
The perfect
go
time.
and we see a Christmas movie, and we wear our pajamas and
Mhm,
we have a blast.
mhm.
So bonding, right?
Wait, you wear the matching present?
We
You
wear
wear the
our
matching?
matching pajamas to the movies. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
But you know what? Everyone does. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Like everyone, I don't know if it's a Texas thing, but in here in Texas, the night before Christmas, everybody puts on their matching pajamas, but probably 3 or 4 days before Christmas, all you wear is pajamas out to the store. You see grown
It's
men in
crazy.
onesies.
It's
You
crazy.
you
I've
wear
never
your
seen anything like
pajamas.
it. It's
You
a
you
Texas thing.
you go to dinner
It's a
in your
lot warmer.
pajamas.
It's a lot warmer in Texas. So
It is, it is. But you wear them and it's fun. And so I think the bonding, but I think what that helps with the traditions also is just I've seen it with my son and myself, like I do a memory tree because my mom had us do a memory tree. And I'm excited to go through and see the ornaments that like my mom has. And CJ goes through, he doesn't help decorate the tree anymore because he's too old. But I still enjoy going through the ornaments and putting them up. He does always put up the first ornament of Christmas, so that makes me happy. And he has a tree in his room as well. But just those bonding moments, they mean a lot as a family. Um,
cool.
so
You know what? Yeah, you guys kept still bringing something to mind. So I might have to throw a little question out there. But because you've mentioned family and how things change in family and people getting married um, and Sister Hope, you're here and you're I don't know if you had to make any adjustments with that, but I know that when you do get married, yeah, there's a whole nother family that is also wanting that time, and also I don't know if any of y'all can kind of speak to that, but it can be it can mess with your traditions though, right?
Yeah, yeah, I know when our kids were
Better
little,
speak.
our kids were little, and we were the family that was away. So I had our parents were what two hours apart.
Mm,
So we chose that, okay, if we spend Christmas Day with Mom Moore this year, then we'll go down and see Mom Obi maybe a couple of days after Christmas.
okay.
But the next year, we would flip it. We would spend Christmas with Mom Obi, and a couple of days later, we circle back around and spend 2 days later with Mom Moore.
Some compromise.
Yeah, yeah, we had to compromise. And also, too, for us, our kids, they didn't have a lot of Christmas at home. We we would have Santa Claus would come early. Sometimes he would come later. Sometimes he would come when we're at Grandma Moore's house. Miraculously, he knew they were in Winston-Salem, and that's when they would come.
Mm,
So, you have to, and it's crazy because Chen and I were talking about that today. Because before prior to this point, when we go to Texas, Curtis and Courtney are close enough together that we can see them both on the same day. Or if we
mhm.
open gifts with CJ, then we'll have dinner with Curtis. Or if we open gifts with Curtis, then we'll have dinner with Courtney and CJ.
And it gets testy because the
Yeah, it does.
grandkids,
Oh
they
yeah,
remember who you
they
opened
remember.
presents with. They also
Absolutely.
remember who you stayed with last time, and it's
Yeah,
your time to stay over here this time. So the
absolutely.
grandkids, they at least
Yeah.
our nieces and nephews, they are competitive about the
Right.
grandparents.
And then the thing is, see now with Christy, Christy has always come to Texas. So
Mm,
now that's going to be a whole nother dynamic as
mhm.
to, how we're going to manage. So we'll just have to we'll have to figure it out as to, okay, do we spend Thanksgiving here or Christmas here? You'll have to figure it out. The main thing though is I think compromise and conversation about, and then being fair.
Mhm.
Being fair in understanding that everybody, you know, wants, I mean, you have to be fair as you can. And
Mhm.
sometimes that can get hard.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
I can definitely
So,
speak to that. Um, because when before I got married, it was just our immediate family because we moved here from St. Louis, so it was just us, the six of us, and so it was easy because we just spent time with each other during the holidays. But then when got married, then you add a whole nother family to the group, and so you do have to have a conversation. You don't want to hurt people's feelings, and you do have to figure it out. Now, the good thing about it is we're in the same city, but it still can get hard because it's like you don't want anybody to feel like you're cutting your time short with them. So we've kind of along the way we've kind of figured out a system, but you also have to have those conversations, say, hey, I don't mean any harm by this, but I got to have time here and then I got to have time here. So it just takes a little bit of figuring out in conversations, I think.
And as your kids grow, CJ, he'll be 16 in a few days, and he doesn't want to go. And so it becomes a matter of, I know you all want us to come this way, but you also have to consider your kids, right? And what's important to them. Because although other people, your family has traditions, and I think that's difficult too, is when you do marry someone and they want their family traditions to be, kind of like their family. And so it's it's just definitely something that you have to definitely like work through and have conversation and find time. If you really want that family time during Christmas, well, maybe then we can come Christmas Eve, right? Our families, what we have decided is, our kids wanted to have Christmases at home, right? When they were younger, when it was just Buddy and Cam, we would get together, right? And CJ and I would stay over sometimes Curtis's house, and that worked. But then CJ got to an age where he didn't want to do that. He wanted to wake up at home with his own tree, his own things, we watch our own movies. So what we decided was, well, we'll get together Christmas Eve. And normally we get together and we play games or something, or we have some dinner, and then we see each other normally for dinner on Christmas Day. But if we don't see each other for Christmas Day, we've seen each other sometime around the holiday to where everybody is okay, with respecting everyone's boundaries. Now the grandparents, they're
It's
different.
hard for the grandparents because I want to open gifts with every group, and that's
Mhm.
impossible. You can't do it.
And then you have birthdays, and then someone gets more presents because it was their birthday, and then kids they know. So it's just the dynamics of
Yeah.
they figure it out. So
And for everybody out there, though, you're talking about how Buddy and Cam are cousins, and
yes,
you and your brother, and you're
yeah,
trying to
yeah. At
figure
first it
out
was
Christmas amongst your
difficult.
family.
Yeah, it's hard because it's like, hey, like why don't we all just spend Christmas together? But then
Yeah.
it's hard when some people want to spend it at their house with their family, right? And that's not a negative thing, right? It's okay
Mhm.
if people want to have their set immediate like nucleus family
Yeah.
have their Christmas. And so I just think that for everyone out there, it is okay, it's just that you just have to, like you said, Chanda, communicate and
Mhm.
just find healthy ways. Like, hey, maybe we get together 2 days before Christmas, And I would say, because I am the single person on the call, on the podcast, it, it's hard when you are single and you don't have that family, right? And it can be hard. So if you have a sister or a brother and they don't have that, invite them,
Mhm.
right? Don't assume like that they're okay. Like you invite them to dinner. Invite them to, hey, do you want to open presents? Hey, we're going to go do this. Hey, we're going to be going to this event. Invite them.
Mhm.
Like, because it can be very difficult to have to spend the holidays alone. And not even
Mhm.
someone that's not married, but it could be a grandparent, it could
Mhm.
be an aunt whose children, are grown and moved on, and
Or
maybe they
maybe
don't
don't
have
have
a
any
close
children.
relationship. Yeah, or don't have any children. But just think of others. Like, don't just think about your husband, your wife, your kids. Think of how you can include your family members because those traditions, maybe their kids are older and there's all different type of circumstances, you
Mhm.
know just try to include them. It means a lot to people. Hey, we're getting matching pajamas, what would you like? Hey,
Mhm.
we're doing this, do you want to come over, we're having dinner. you know just little things, they matter. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to go back to something Ruben brought up when we first started the call, and it was about the family stress during the holidays because
Mhm.
it can be stressful. And I
Mhm.
know I'm just going to give an example of our family reunion. Usually, our family we have a family reunion, and we typically gravitate toward one house because it's the comfortable house. It's the house that's we can sit outside or sit inside and have shade and all of that. And our family reunion is in the summer. Well, this past family reunion, my sister made some rules. And I was kind of taken aback when I heard the rules, but then I thought, wow, she was spot on because, and her rules were no politics, no talk about politics, no talk about religion. Because the year before that, we had had a knockdown, drag out fight in her kitchen about politics and religion. And so so she made those rules, and basically our family reunion went so much smoother because everybody except one brother observed those rules. But what it made me think about was, okay, with Christmas, and that can be stressful because people are tired. Sometimes people are short. People can get edgy, and so how I try to mitigate some of that, I have to do self-talk. And I talk to myself to say, you know what? You are not going to engage in conversation about this with this person because you already know how it's going to end. If this person says this or does that, just you're going to have to just walk away or ignore it or whatever. But I have to prepare my space mentally. I have to prepare myself that I'm not going to engage, and I'm going to be more patient, more kind, more understanding. I'm going to, I guess what I'm trying to say is I have to do a whole lot of self-talk sometimes when
Mhm.
family gathers.
It's
And
hard.
it's hard, but guess what? It really makes a huge difference
Yeah.
because if you react, you can start a World War III, and then everybody's holiday is ruined. And it's not
Mhm.
if you had just, walked away or just, kept your mouth closed or decided not to engage or give that person the benefit of the doubt that, you know what, they don't really mean what they're saying. They're just talking to be talking.
Yeah. And I
So
don't know
anyway,
about y'all, but when you get around family, no matter how old you are, sometimes you just devolve back into
absolutely.
how
That's
you
why I
always
say
were. And
self-talk.
I'm like, wait a minute, because I've caught myself and I was like, you know what? Honestly, if I was with somebody else who was a stranger or at like some holiday party or whatever else, I this wouldn't even bother me. Like I would have handled it differently. I might,
Absolutely.
but you get around a brother, sister, cousin, or something like that, and you end up going right back to when you all was 12,
That's true.
acting the same way, having the same argument. And I think that's just me, but I don't know that
No,
happens.
it's not just you, but
No,
that's
that's
why
not.
to me the self-talk is so critical. I
Hmm.
have to prepare myself ahead of time that you know what, I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to be baited. I'm not going to be drawn into this crazy conversation that I already
Hmm.
know is not going to end well.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think it's okay to normalize, and this might be controversial, but I think it's okay to normalize doing what's best for you.
Mhm.
Um, not, since we're talking about, self-talk and those things, there are some people who in your family who have not been healthy for you. And
Hmm.
it is okay to remove yourself. You don't have to feel as if your children have to go around or be around people that were rude to your kids or
Mhm.
treated them a certain way, regardless of who feels that you should. Your parents, an uncle, an aunt, like you have the right to respectfully keep your peace
Mhm.
from family members that have treated you in a way that has been, you know, detrimental to your health or mental health. So I think that's also important during the holidays, right? Is that it's okay to say, I'm not going to go to that gathering because I don't feel comfortable and I'm okay with being, going with a friend or going to a coworker's home. There are other options, right? Outside of, and I'm not saying like you should just directly not speak to your family, but there are times where, you don't feel as if that space serves you well. And I just want, as we're talking about self talk, I also think it's important to choose your peace. It's okay to not go to the dinner. It's okay to say, hey, you know what? We're not going to go there right now because, we know that this situation is not going to be healthy for our family. And I think that's just important to say. I think sometimes culturally, as families, we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
And it's like you have to, but no, you don't. You
Yeah.
don't. And it's okay to choose yourself and your peace if that's what you need to do.
Yeah, yeah. And that should certainly apply to even the more extreme. Like You don't need to be, you don't have to be in the space with somebody who is your abuser. You know
That's
what I'm
right.
saying? Somebody who was like, has literally done you bodily harm or done
That's
you
right.
like, yeah, yeah. But families do, there are
Mhm.
families that insist you be there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pressure you
they
into
do.
it.
And they make, and it could even be emotional, right?
Mhm.
But it's just, I think it's something that we don't talk about as a culture, right? And I
Mhm.
think that it just
Yeah.
needs to be said. Like, sometimes the holidays can be stressful because you're dreading because you know that something has happened or someone has treated you a certain way, and your family's like, well, it's okay. They're doing the No, you don't have to go. You
Mhm.
do not have to deal with any of that if you don't want to. And so I think that's just important to say it's okay to choose yourself in
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
moments.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, we've talked about traditions, and we've talked about, honoring God, and the holidays being a joyful season, and the holidays being somewhat it can be a difficult season. We've talked about what's important to family. And, as we wrap it up, we're talking about Christmas and things, but we're also getting ready for a new year, you know, and I'm just curious as the year closes, what is one thing that you are most grateful for? You want to thank God for? What's one way that you've seen God like move in your family? What's a testimony that you have of this year that, God has truly, how he's blessed your family? Um, yeah.
I would just say God has kept me. God has kept my family. God has blessed me with a new job, which was very scary for me because I had never. I've only been in one job for such a long time, and making the transition, I didn't know what that would look like. But God has been with me the entire way, so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my kids being healthy and, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally. I feel like they're doing well. So that's one of the biggest blessings that you could ask for as a parent. So I don't take those things for granted because I know that there are people that, you know, there's other situations that it could be, So those are the things that I'm grateful for. And of course my family and the people that God has put in my life, the good people that God has put in my life. So those are the things I'm grateful for.
I will say, when we started, I guess this is 25. When we started 25, Pastor Moore and I had just announced that we were going to retire. And then, of course, we got President Trump,
Mm.
and there was so much uncertainty, and the stock market was acting crazy, and we're sitting daily watching our retirement balance go down, 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 down. It was a pretty scary time, and we were concerned, still trusting God, but concerned that, you know what, maybe we did choose, a bad time to think about, retiring, because who thought that President Trump would be President Trump and all of that. So I would have to say that I am so grateful and thankful that even though there's still some uncertainty, but God has He has allowed our retirement to be secure as it can be in this environment. And as we were watching the tally go down, we watched it come back up and gain. So I am just thankful that God is faithful, and that even in the scariest of times that he honors his promise. And I love the verse that says, I have been young and now I am old, but never have I seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. And I have to remember that Pastor and I are the righteous, and our children are the seed. And I have to trust God that we're not going to be forsaken and we're not going to be begging bread, even with President Trump being in office. So I am just thankful that God is faithful. And I will have to say that I am thankful for my family. Every day, I thank God that my children, my grandchildren are whole and healthy and that they are doing well and that they are living lives that honor Him. And so that's what I'm most thankful and grateful for is family and that God is faithful to keep His word.
Yeah, yeah, that was mine as well. That God is faithful. That I like at the end of the year just being able to take a beat, just to sit still for a moment. Um, even if we have guests over or anything else, I'm gonna take a moment to sit and try to take it all in, and do the best I can to remember where I was because I'm in a good time in my life. And, storms will come, but, you know, God is faithful. He's brought me this far. And now I know, why, those people catch the ghost, go run around church. I know, okay, they've been through some stuff. And I know now, like, they're just rejoicing for, hey, I used to be here, but now I'm here. And so, and I think that comes with, age, comes with maturity. But yeah, I just think like, yeah, thinking on the goodness of God and how faithful he is and always was. And so, I'm glad I'm just not where I was. And so, um, yes, this year, my firstborn son, on November 30th, 2025 was baptized, and I got to do the baptizing. So, I think that was just wonderful. So many things to be. We renovated our home, and it's been really nice. We made it our own. It feels so cozy here, and things are really really good. And at a time where, like Sister Hope was saying, where a lot of uncertainty is going on, um, we've been feeling pretty stable, pretty sound, pretty. So it's been really really good to think about just how good God is, and so that's what I love doing at the end of the year. I think that's also another part of this whole season where everything is coming to this close and everything is is building and families coming together and people um getting to look at where they are and how far they've come and and the excitement of the new year right around the corner. um I think that's just all a part of it, all a part of it. And so yeah, I love it, I love it. What is it, what is that verse that talk about great is your faithfulness? So yeah, I think that's just what I think of.
Mhm. Yeah, for me, I feel like I've grown a lot this year. I turned 40 this year. And
Yay.
so, but I think in that, I've learned a lot about me, and I don't know, it's like I turned 40 and I just like, hey, something shifted, Um, and so but God also kind of convicted me. He was like, hey, um, working on my relationship with God and getting closer to God and just even like doing the podcast and these type of things have kind of just really helped me reflect on where I am spiritually. And so I think that one of the things I'm most grateful for is just kind of renewing that relationship with God, making sure that I'm making church a priority and making sure that I'm, doing my devotionals and spending time with God and working on that because There was a time where, I felt like that really, I'm a Christian, that's enough, that it really didn't matter, and so, but I've seen since I have been more faithful in those things, God moving in other ways and my ability to be able to handle situations differently. And so I'm just grateful for that. And I would say, just growth, you know, and sometimes when you parent by yourself, you learn. I think all parents learn as they go, right? But it's different because you don't have someone to ask questions or piggyback off of, or hey, like I didn't get that right. Can you handle it this time? Or you just got to roll your sleeves and get back in there. And you don't, you don't have a, you don't have any days off. You don't have any, any moments to sit back and cry about it. You got to figure it out. And I'm just really thankful that, God has kept, my son not only health wise, but I work with kids every day, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 17-year-olds that they won't do a thing you tell them. They don't have any ambition. They don't want to, they're just, they're choosing to make life decisions that are really going to affect them later. And I'm just grateful that he understands the importance of his education and he understands the importance of, um, you know, building a relationship with God and those things. And so it's just little things that I know um, down the line will be really big things, and come together full circle. And although everything isn't peaches and roses all the time, I believe that you know between growth and honoring God, that He will make sure that everything that I'm trying to do will come out the right way. Um, and I think sometimes it's hard um, for people out there where it's like, hey, you know, I think that's just one of the hardest things to do is to raise a teenager, and I just want to just be encouraged and keep trying and keep going, and even if you did have a difficult year, just really try to continue to trust God and honor God and continue to grow as a parent. Continue to pray, continue to just trust that the seeds that you're planting and what you're instilling is going to come to fruition one day. Um, so I think for me, the thing I'm most thankful for is, and I don't know if it sounds like a thankful, but just growth and hope and, um, continuing to have the resilience to keep moving forward, even when things aren't always easy. So that's mine.
And
So,
before, just to piggyback on what you said, and I don't want to be the Debbie Downer here, but raising teenagers is difficult when it's two parents. So I cannot imagine when there's just one parent in the home because teenagers are a different breed.
Mhm.
But as you said, I can remember just praying that God being prayerful and like you said, getting back in there, rolling up your sleeves. Okay, I didn't handle that well, but hey, I'm going to go back at it again today, not giving up. And then it's like one day the light bulb comes on. But typically for their past teenagers, they're probably into early adulthood, into college, and then the light bulb comes on, and it's like, oh, my child is back, and and you're so proud, and it's like they don't remember all the things that happened and that you had to go through with them, but at the end of the day, they are a product that you can be proud of. And I think it boils down to what you said, Courtney. Getting in there every day, going at it. When you mess up, saying, "Hey, I messed up," but guess what? Not giving up and jumping back in the game and keeping it going, and keep a dependence and reliance on God.
Yeah.
Because even though sometimes they seem like they're not listening, they really are. They
Mhm.
seem like they don't care, but they really do. So God can only bring that kid around.
Lord knows.
Yeah.
See, it's funny,
Yeah.
'cause CJ, he's like, you're just a mini grandma. But that tells me like, but it's funny because you don't think that you would
It's the
the things
glasses.
that that you that you or say, or the way you handle and raise your kids, that you're going to treat them like your parents treat, because you used to think your parents were crazy. At least I
Mhm.
did. But now it's like, no, they were right. This is what you need to be doing, and this is how you need to handle this. And so, but yeah, it's. Oh, I do want to
Yeah,
say this.
perfect.
I've been in Texas almost 11 years. Yeah, 11
Wow.
years.
Wow.
Not, I haven't found a church home. I have not joined a church at all since I've been in Texas, and for different reasons. You know, um, children's ministry was nothing like it was at home, and so it was difficult to find, somewhere to just kind of, take your kids and those type of things. And then you do find it, but it's not in spaces that kind of look like you, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And so I will say that I think within, and my parents were here the other Sunday, and although I don't like the logistics of the church, I do think that, I may have found a church home, and I think that's something also that I'm
Yay!
grateful for.
Hey,
So, but I've been looking for a while. I've been to some, oh Lord Jesus, there's been some churches. But, that's something I feel like I'm also thankful for, is to find a space I feel like that my family can grow spiritually, and we can actually contribute and invest in and become involved, and see how that goes. So
you know what? And before you close, I wanna piggyback a little bit on that. Congratulations on finding a
thank
church.
you.
Uh, I think that people really, really got to understand, especially I think especially now more than ever, because we are uh, trying to do community online more than anything. But we really, really, really need to not do these things alone. Like, um, we really need community, to kind of come back into play. And so finding a good church where you're at, watching church online is fine. But I might watch a lot of people online, but you need some community. Like you need to show up at church, and you need somebody to know your name,
Right.
um,
Hmm.
and so that you could be adopted into the family, they could be adopted into yours, and because it's one thing to maybe fall into depression, grieve, have anxiety, all sorts of issues. And if your community is only online, who gonna help you in the middle of the night?
Right. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you- like we're really gonna have to like get back to, and I think that people are starting to recognize that. But you're really gonna have to get back to. All of us are really gonna have to get back to finding people to be around, and not just anybody, because there's a lot of whack information out there, but finding some good wise counsel, some people to be around that could mentor you, that you can mentor to, and there be some kind of legitimate community exchange, and so that is something that I think that we all really need to be. And in this time of year, depression runs high.
Mhm.
People go get some help. Find somebody, even if you just got to pick up the phone, find somebody. But I think that is something that all of us need to know. We really gotta get back to showing up somewhere,
That's right.
because it could save our lives one day.
And Ruben, the other thing we have got to do, if we have to be conscious to reach out to people that
Yeah,
we know are hurting, people
yeah,
that we know are isolated. We need
yeah.
to, I mean, because they may not feel as comfortable reaching out to us, but we know their situation. We can reach out and just a phone call, just a hug, just a, hey, how you doing? I was just checking on you. We need to be very conscious of that in this season because there are so many people who just have a bad day and can't manage it, and then
Mhm.
they do something they can't recover from. So we
Mhm.
just need to be cognizant and prayerful and reach out.
Mhm. Yeah. One of the things that, as I close, I was listening to this. It was online, but it was this young man who he's a youth pastor, And I was listening to him online because I'm trying to find like youth groups and things. And his message was to parents. The youth weren't there. He had asked the parents to come, and he said, one of the main reasons why our children and our youth are struggling so much is that they don't have a covering. You know, they're not going into the house of God and being covered and prayed over, and someone speaking into their life. And so when they get out here and they're confronted with all of these different things, right? They have no defense to protect them because they don't know and they don't have that covering over them. And I think about us as we grew up in the church. We were always in church. We were always around people praying. We were always a part of a church program or something. And so it just really convicted me, I feel like, as a parent to say, hey, and I know we've been doing Beyond Sunday, and I know that we've had some really transparent podcasts, but I just want to say, as a parent, it doesn't help your children for you to get up on Sundays and sit and watch football and go to brunch. It doesn't help prepare them for the week if you don't show them that it's important to get up and go into church and make that a priority. And it is, you're not, you're allowing the devil to have direct access to your kids without any protection over them. And so I think that's one of the main reasons why from that message. And I've been in church my whole life, but as you become grown, you make your own decisions and you have to do it for yourself. It's, you want your kids to be covered. And in this world, like you said, over the holidays with depression, not just your kids, but you too. You want to make sure that you're in a space, like Brother Ruben said, where someone can reach out and touch you, know your name, invite you to a small group, a connection group, get your kids involved in doing certain things because they may be 4 or 5 now and it's all good, but one day they're going to be a little different and you're going
They're
to
gonna be
need,
teenagers.
yes, you're going to need them to go to church and genuinely, that may be the only thing that reaches them is the pastor or the youth pastor or the youth group that can reach out and help them understand that, hey, the way you're talking to your mom or the way that you're carrying yourself, it's not of God. And so that's just my little tidbit on church and all that. So um does anybody else have anything they want to say before we close out today? No. Well, it has been really awesome, talking about traditions and Christmas and the new year. And just, how do we continue to make God the reason for the season, the true gift of Christmas. And so it has truly been a great session. I feel like we touched on a lot of really good things and had some really honest conversations for parents and families out there to handle the holiday season. And so I would encourage you all to tune in to our next podcast. It's probably going to be in the new year. Um, but we'll continue to talk about family issues and situations and how to draw closer to God in the upcoming podcasts to come. So we want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we will see you in 2026. See ya.
Merry Christmas, y'all.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Chris.